Hello everyone, welcome to John Redmann Power of Attorney, the show that aims to empower you through increasing your knowledge of the law. I'm Attorney John Redmann.
And hello everyone, I'm Shauna Sanford. Welcome to the show. Well, it can be a nightmare situation. After searching for a credible attorney, then you discover that he or she is not as ethical as you thought. Well, what do? The rules are very clear when it comes to how all lawyers in Louisiana and across the country should conduct business with their clients, above board and ethically. But that doesn't always happen. Joining us today is a New Orleans attorney known nationwide for winning multi-million-dollar cases. He says lawyers who break the rules damage their clients and the public in general.
Our guest today, one of the most respected attorneys in the nation, is a big believer in lawyers adhering to the code of conduct. But unfortunately, there have been too many cases of lawyers violating the very rules they promised to follow. Attorney Russ Herman is our guest today, and he will join us in just a moment.
And right before Attorney Herman joins us, John, I want to ask you, who establishes that code of conduct?
Well, every state has its own lawyer disciplinary boards through the State Bar Association for each state. In Louisiana, the Office of Disciplinary Counsel is responsible for policing the attorneys in each state under the aegis of the state Supreme Court. Every state is responsible for making sure that lawyers play by the rules. Mm-hmm. And there are professional rules that are they're written, and you can find out about them. You can go online and find these. Lawyers have a duty to follow the rules. They can't lie, cheat, and steal. Unfortunately, some do.
Some do.
And you read about them in the papers, and some you don't read about. But unfortunately, it's a problem, and lawyers continue to break the rules, and sometimes in very serious ways, and we're going to be talking about it today.
That's right. That's right. Coming up, Attorney Russ Herman will join us for a very important conversation about the ethical responsibilities all lawyers have, and some things as potential clients you should know to avoid some serious situations. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the show. Our guest today has been called one of the best lawyers in America. His resume is impressive, and his knowledge of the law is hard to beat. Attorney Russ Herman has litigated and won multi-million-dollar cases and has strong feelings about the ethical responsibilities lawyers have to their clients.
Attorney Herman has authored more than 200 articles and books. He is the senior partner of Herman & Katz and a graduate of Tulane Law School. Among the many cases he is known for, perhaps he is best known for successfully leading the team that found the tobacco industry intentionally addicted, misled, and defrauded Louisiana consumers from 1953 to 1996. Russ, welcome back to the show.
Great to be here. Thank you, John. Thank you, Sharon.
A lot of ground to cover, so let's plunge right in. Attorneys and ethics. A lot of people say those two words often don't go together. Is that fair?
It's not fair.
I agree with you.
It's true that there are attorneys that play loose and that violate the rules, but the vast majority of them play by the rules, and indeed we're supposed to be a learned and ethical profession, and I'm proud of it.
Mm-hmm. And so when we look at the ethics and the code of conduct that attorneys are supposed to follow, is that code set by the state, by the federal level? Explain what goes on there.
The Supreme Court of each state generally is the keynote for the rules. The Bar Association with the Supreme Court makes the rules, and the Bar Association enforces those rules with all appeals to the state Supreme Court. Now, the federal system, each district, for instance, we're in the Eastern District of New Orleans. Mm-hmm. The judges of the Eastern District enforce ethics rules in the Eastern District. There are panels of 3 lawyers who advise the court when asked, but it is the judges who directly determine whether ethics have been violated and what penalties are to be paid.
And that code of conduct is for whether you're handling a small case or a big class action case, is that right?
Small case, big case, or even giving advice when there is no case.
You have to adhere to that code of
Oh,
conduct.
absolutely, absolutely. And I've been at it 47 years, and I have to tell you, the vast number of attorneys I've dealt with in Louisiana and across the nation, they play by the rules. They're tough, they're hard, they're prepared, they work, most of them, 16 hours a day. And because they work hard and because they're prepared, they don't violate the rules. People should understand that lawyers that violate rules don't do well. They're insecure. They know that they can't win by playing with the rules. And, it's like the Saints game. If you intentionally go out to cripple somebody, there's a rule against that.
Right.
You're going to get flagged.
Right.
And it's the same thing in law, except we have to abide by it because a courtroom's a temple of justice. The rule of law in the United States is established in our Constitution and in the Louisiana Constitution. Access to the courts and trial by jury are more precious. Thomas Jefferson said the right to serve on a jury is more important than the right to vote because you make the decision.
And in that tobacco case, your team, you uncovered just flagrant violations of the code of conduct.
Yes, we did, by attorneys in other states who began violating the code of conduct in the 50s and 60s. Not by the local attorneys who happen to be exceptional lawyers and play by the rules.
Yeah.
And I want to add to what Russ is saying. It's absolutely true that lawyers respect, especially all the ones that I've worked with in the state of Louisiana. It's very rare that a lawyer is going to risk losing his or her license to practice law. The fact is, the rules are very clear. And you are not going to break the rules and risk losing your license to practice because your reputation as a lawyer it's one of your most precious assets, your reputation in this town. And we're a close-knit legal community. We really are. And if you can't walk into a courtroom and be known as an honest, straightforward lawyer, you're not going to get very far. You're not going to last very long. You're not going to be able to pay your own bills. And luckily, it's extremely rare that you're going to see a lawyer who doesn't know how to play by the rules.
All of the 4 law schools in the state teach ethics. We have ethics professors, Professor Udo, Professor Ciolino. For example, in New Orleans, there are experts on ethics like Leslie Schiff from Opelousas. Ethics is a very, very important. We have an ethics partner appointed in our firm. We have ethics professors on retainer. In large cases, we always get outside ethics opinions. So
well, it sounds like from someone who's not in that profession, it sounds like there's ongoing education because this is so broad and so far-reaching. And both of you, I'd really like to get your comments on this. Do you feel that lawyers do have a good understanding of their ethical responsibilities? Because it not only can ruin your reputation, but you could lose your right to practice, right?
Ethics are very simple. Right and wrong.
Right.
There's not a gray area. Don't get in the gray area. Do right. If you get that little hit, hey, get over on the good side.
Let me add this. I think in the public, in the community, a lot of times people, in family court, you're trying to get custody of your children, or you're fighting over who should have control of the family business, or you're fighting with your business partner. Somebody's going to win, somebody's going to lose, or you're not going to get the result you want. It's very easy at times for people to make an emotional decision. Well, I didn't get the result I wanted because that judge is friends with the other guy, because on TV that's what happens. And so people, I think, make these snap judgments that, well, the system is crooked, the judge, the other lawyers, my lawyer, I didn't win, my lawyer must not be honest. That's, I think, where a lot of this what do you call it, the myths come from.
I agree with you. Do you know it's unethical, Shauna, for a lawyer to blame a judge?
It is unethical.
It's unethical. It's unethical for a lawyer to blame a magistrate or a special master appointed by a judge.
That's been in the news lately.
Yes, it
hasn't
has. The blaming of Judge Barbier, born on the West Bank, went to school here, went to Southeastern.
Judge Barbier in the BP
In the
case.
BP
Let's
trial.
go ahead.
Undergraduate
Yes.
from Loyola while he's working 2 jobs, a teacher, a federal law clerk, someone that practiced at the highest level, who incidentally was appointed by 7 judges who aren't from Louisiana to hear that case, to say, to point the finger at him, if a lawyer did it, it would be unethical. The company, BP, did it.
Yeah.
So I can't be responsible for their ethics.
And we want to make clear what you are talking about there for our
This
viewers.
is in the BP settlements case where BP, through its lawyers, entered into a settlement, and now BP is, some people say that BP is having buyer's remorse after they got into the settlement, and now they've gone up to the Court of Appeal saying, let us get out of the settlement, or something. We're going to talk about that in another another program in this case.
I mean, they also attacked the claims administrator, who is the president of the Louisiana Defense Association, who is an esteemed member of the bar. He is one of only 500 lawyers in the world that have been elected to a prestigious
defense companies. Well, you know what? We just have a couple more minutes before this segment is over. Let's talk about class actions and ethics in general. And ethical violations, they happen on both sides. Plaintiff lawyers, defense lawyers do it. But what is, I want to get to the Chinese drywall. And, we talked about tobacco.
Let me give you 3 examples of why class actions are important. Class actions were invented so the little guy could take on the big guy. In Chinese drywall, to file 1 case and try it took $1 million. For a homeowner that had $300,000 worth of damage. My son tried that case, okay? Now, the only way you can take on a manufacturer is if you've got 1,000 people, and in drywall, 12,000 people coming together in a class action.
12,000 people had trouble with the drywall in their house that came from China. That's why they call it the Chinese drywall case. Okay.
And so that's where class action helps. I mean, there's over $1 billion now put up to help repair these homes. Without a class action, it wouldn't be there. And tobacco, in the case that my friends and I tried, $250 million was put up to establish free smoking clinics all over the state.
All over the state, right.
In one of the other pharmaceutical cases, $9 million was put up by the pharmaceutical company to put up and help reestablish those medical clinics that were destroyed out in New Orleans East.
Yeah, so there are some real tangible benefits that can come out of these class actions. I'm going to let you finish that. We have to take a quick break, so we'll come back on the other side. And when we come back, we're going to take questions from our viewers. So stay tuned. We'll be right back after the break. Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Well, now is the time when we take questions from our viewers, and you've got lots of them. We're going to get right to them. And again, I want to remind you that our guest today is none other than attorney Russ Herman. We have had an incredibly fascinating conversation about ethics when it comes to attorneys. You've authored over 200 articles and books, and John, you have one of his books right there.
On that note, I wanted to hold up this book. This is one of my more recent, very favorite books of Russ Herman's. It's called Courtroom Persuasion, Winning with Art, Drama, and Science, with wonderful quotes from some of the great rhetorical skills and authors, including Cicero, or Cicero if you're a Latin enthusiast. Fascinating work. And since I was in law school, I've enjoyed attending the lectures of Russ Herman, friend of my father's, rest in peace, when my father sat on the bench. But just a special treat for me to have Russ Herman on the show, and I can't say enough nice things about Russ Herman as a person, as a civil servant, consumer advocate. So I wanted to mention the book, which I keep right close to my, right on my desk close by.
Well, John, I appreciate that. I knew your father. He was a great, great lawyer and judge. He'd be very proud of you today. And he sang many times while my mother played piano. He had a magnificent voice.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Well, we have lots of questions from our viewers, and we're going to get to them. We've been talking about ethics when it comes to the legal profession, and one question that we have is, why is it so important for those in the legal profession to behave within ethical boundaries?
If we don't, under the rule of law, behave right, how can we expect other people to do it? How can we expect juries to come back with an honest verdict? What are our children learning in civics and in political science and in history? Lawyers are supposed to be the bulwark of a constitutional government. And every time we do the wrong thing, it's like sticking a dart in the constitutional rights of everyone.
And in fact, you have said it not only hurts the clients of these attorneys who practice, who don't practice ethically, but it really does hurt the public in general.
It certainly hurts the public in general.
What are some of the big things to learn from the class action, the tobacco case, going forward with all of these class actions?
I think that we have to have stronger laws so that dirty secrets that kill people can't be hidden are sealed by judges and court records. I think that we have to learn that where there is a very serious health issue, if it's caused by business, by big business, we can expect and should expect the government to regulate it. When the government doesn't, like the import of Chinese drywall that's toxic, lawyers are going to go into a courtroom. It would be better if government handles it.
Yeah.
And when corporations with billion-dollar budgets and billion-dollar PR firms subvert decency, kill people, maim people, destroy our coastline, destroy our seafood industry, destroy the fabric of American life, if a government doesn't step in and deal with it, then lawyers will go into a courtroom and deal with it. But they should deal with it honestly. It goes for both sides. Today,
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
I'm sorry. I read this morning, a lawyer in Virginia told his client to take some damaging remarks off of his website so that the other side couldn't read it. And not only was he suspended from practice for 5 years, he was fined. So it could be an individual lawyer.
Is that a case? Is that a case of a lawyer just not knowing, a lawyer not caring, a lawyer just trying to?
Lawyers know.
Lawyers know.
The only person that doesn't know is someone that doesn't know the difference between right and wrong. And if that's true, they ought to be drummed out of the profession. After all, once a year, we're required by the Louisiana State Bar to go to a seminar on ethics and professionalism. You can't escape it.
It's an ongoing thing.
Well, you're kicked out or suspended if you don't go.
Well, we got to get to Cigarocchio.
Cigarocchio.
Yes.
My friend.
And while you're getting Cigarocchio all ready for his close-up, I wanted to say amen to what you're saying. And it's not the lawyers going in and straightening out. It's the lawyers representing the community and people within the community so they can go into the courthouse and asking the community, the guardians of the community, the conscience of the community, to step up and make that decision. Because you or I, we don't get to go into the courthouse and vote up or down, is this okay or not okay? We get to ask the jury to say, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you are the conscience of this community. Is this okay with you? And you vote, is this okay? What they're doing to our coastline, what they're doing to our seafood industry. Is this claim that this person is making, is this okay or not? And you be the judge. You mentioned Thomas Jefferson on an earlier episode, or maybe it was earlier in this show, saying that the vote of the jury is the most powerful thing that our Constitution gives us. I'm saying amen to what you're saying, because that's real power.
It is power, and I think lawyers have to understand we're in the upper 1/2% of the educated people in the world. No matter what we earn, we are in the upper 1/2% of the earners in the world. With that, under a great American flag, we have special obligations. It's just as wrong for a lawyer to submit a false claim as it is for a lawyer to hide evidence on the other side. It shouldn't be tolerated either way.
Yeah, and before we get to Sigarokio, we've been talking a lot about lawyers, but we have a question here that says, who's playing big brother to the judges of our judicial system? To be sure, their courtroom decisions are ethical. Can you be barred forever for unethical decision making? So talk a little bit about the judges.
Well, it's really 3 questions.
Yeah.
Okay? In my lifetime, I've only seen 2 judges who evidence was presented and they were removed from the judiciary. That's a pretty good record. I don't know of a single instance where a justice of the Louisiana Supreme Court, whether I agreed with their opinions or I didn't agree, was ever had a finger pointed that they did something unethical. If a lawyer or a litigant, a person, feels that a judge has done something unethical, they can report it to the Judiciary Commission.
Okay.
And then the Judiciary Commission makes a full investigation. If it's federal, often it'll go to the U.S. Attorney, and the U.S. Attorney will make an investigation.
And so if I am a client and I feel like my attorney has done something unethical, I would report that to the same committee?
Well, if you're in federal court.
Not the Judiciary Commission.
Not to the Judiciary Committee,
well, if you're in federal court, you ought to report it to the judges.
To the judges,
federal court.
okay.
The chief judge.
Okay.
That's Chief Judge Sarah Vance in the Eastern District. If it's in state court, you report it to the Bar Association.
Okay.
And we all pay dues so the Bar Association can hire special prosecutors.
Okay. All right. So tell us.
And well, just to also round it out, if you believe the judge has just made a terrible decision, well, then you're allowed to appeal the judge's decision, ask the Court of Appeal to correct the judge's decision if it's in fact a reversible error, an error where the judge decided the case wrong, and not only just a close call wrong, but so bad that it's reversible error, and decide the case differently in the Court of Appeal.
And no lawyer resents that. I mean, if any party feels that the decision is incorrect, they appeal. In tobacco, we had 30 appeals to every court, including the U.S. Supreme Court
30 appeals,
twice.
wow, yeah.
But that's okay. I mean, that's how you get it right. And there's a difference, a big difference, in disagreeing with a judge's opinion and charging the judge with doing something wrong.
I mean, that's serious if you're going to charge the judge with doing something wrong.
It's reprehensible unless you've got absolute evidence. And I will say this, those of us who go to courtroom lawyers, we don't win all our cases. We're just there fighting for our clients on both sides. I've never, ever pointed a finger at a judge or a jury. Maybe my preparation wasn't right. Maybe I got the facts wrong. Maybe the law just isn't good for me.
Yeah.
I disagree with the opinion, but I don't attack the jury or the judge.
Okay, well, before we go, we all want to see Sigarokio.
Yes, Sigarokio.
Tell us about this young...
50-year liar. 50 years, Sigarokio's nose grew from 1953 to 2003. Lied about putting targets on the backs of 10 and 11-year-olds. Lied about the addictive nature of nicotine, which is actually a poison. Lied about cigarette smoking not causing cancer and heart attacks and strokes. Old Sicarocchio had a lot of lives, fed by hundreds of millions of dollars in PR that allowed to cover up, allowed to attract our children and keep adults addicted, and to hide the truth. But Sicarocchio, Mr. Leger and Mr. Bruno and Mr. Gertler, and Mr. Redfern, and Mr. Singleton, and Mr. Bailey, Mr. Gauthier, and myself, we pulled the nose off of Pinocchio.
Pulled the nose off of Sicarocchio.
And now cigarette smoking in restaurants in lots of places is a thing of the past.
And
Cigarette ads are improved, and we all owe a big debt of gratitude to you and yours.
We actually owe it to, you say that we're pygmies on the shoulders of giants. Every lawyer that handled a case and lost for 50 years against Sicarocchio, we stand on their shoulders. And without a jury trial and a judge that's willing to sit for 3 years,
That's right, 3 years.
you don't get anywhere. So it's not our victory. It's really a victory for the system.
We have to let that be the last word. It has been such a pleasure having you on the show. We've learned so much. Thank you so very much for coming.
What a great show. Thank you for all the information. And all the
Attorney Russ Herman.
Great input.
Thank you for having me.
That is all the time that we have for this week on Power of Attorney. Thank you so much for joining us. And remember to keep those questions coming. You can send them through Facebook, Twitter, and email. We got some great questions.
That's right. And be sure to visit our website at johnredmondpoa.com.
And I left out my friend Ken Carter, who was a member of that team.
Excellent attorney. You can also visit the show for more information and past episodes. So thank you for watching, and we look forward to seeing you the next time.